Hello everyone, welcome to pcdrills, where you find help on how to handle your PC related issues. Today we are going to be doing a small lesson on algorithms and programming languages. This one is just lesson 1. We'll do many more lessons depending on how long it takes to complete the whole program. And we are also going to do some random exercises within the program and after the program. So this one is lesson 1, where we explain the basic stuff you need to know. To begin, for the chapter, at the end you should be able to know some objectives, be able to know some definitions of terms, programming tools, differentiate between algorithms, flowcharts, and pseudocode. You should be able to transform an algorithm into a flowchart. Next, you need to know about programming language generations, programming language paradigms, and language translators. All these are in relation to programming languages and algorithms. So if you see any word here and it's familiar, but if it's not related to programming, then you are out of topic. So for now, let's just get into what we have to do today. So today, let's start with an introduction. Here we say a computer is a useful tool for solving a great number of problems. To make a computer do anything, you have to write a computer algorithm and a program. Generally, for a computer to execute anything, it simply means you are giving the computer instructions. For the computer to perform any instructions, you need to be able to give it those instructions it should execute. When you tell your computer add 2 numbers, it means you are giving the computer an instruction to obey. It simply realizes a task you have given it to solve. So the main idea about programming is to communicate with a computer, and you know that a computer solves problems. Whatever you do that you need to give a computer an instruction, it must pass through a computer program. And we have some basic terms that to go through this chapter, you will need to know them and know them to your fingertips. For example, these keywords here, there are only few for this beginning, but very soon we'll explain more and more as we go through the chapter. But for this lesson 1, since this is just the basics, the beginning lesson, we are going to talk about these 6 ones: programming software, source code editor, debugger, bug, debugging, and object code. First, what is a programming software? A programming software is a type of software. Generally, it is an application software. Being here means you know that there are 2 types of software: the application and the system. Application software are softwares that run inside your computer, like you install them after installing the operating system. So they are not necessary for your computer to work, but they help you to do some specific tasks. That's why we put here application software to specify that. So a programming software is a type of software that is used for creating other software. So for you to create a program using any particular programming language, you need a software that will understand that particular programming language and is able to convert the code that you write into the machine understandable code. And for a programming software, we usually call them IDE. And IDE means Integrated Development Environment. An integrated development environment is simply, like we defined above, a type of application software that is used for creating other softwares. For example, let me show you this code I wrote here using a Python language. Generally, you don't need to know the Python for you to get started with this course. I just wish to show you some basics about what we are talking about in this. For example, here you can see here, let me bring down this one. You can see here above under this main.py. You can see here print welcome user, what is your name, print this and so on. And you see here name, print this and so on. If I run this program, remember you don't need to know about what's going on here. I just wish to explain to you how it works, so that when I explain through the program, you'll be able to follow up with the lesson correctly. So if I run this program to run, I simply come here to run it. And here you see down under this empty box, here you see welcome user. This welcome user matches what is up here. Welcome user, what is your name? He asks me what is your name. Here I need to input a name following this line here. To input the name, I just come, let's just put my name, let's put Alvin, like this, and I press on enter. It goes to the next line. Hey there name, which is hey there Alvin. So it has replaced this name with the name I gave the program. The next line says print, let's calculate the average of two numbers of your choices. There's an error there with the English, but it does not matter. Here they say value 1, input value 1, let's say 4. I press enter. When you finish with any input, you press enter to show the computer that you are done with the input. They say again, second value equal input value 2. Let's say value 2 is 3, and I press enter. Here you can see the next line under the program I wrote. It is average equal to int of int in bracket first value plus int in bracket second value divided by 2. So I'm basically saying first value plus second value divided by 2. If you know the formula for average, you simply know you need to add the number of available values and divide by the total number of values. So if there are two values, you add the first value and the second value and divide by 2, since the total number of values are just 2. Then the next line displays this, and that's what happens at the level of this program. That's basically just what this simple program does. I just did something easy for you to be able to understand and follow up. So let's get back to our presentation. Here, what we saw, which was this, what we saw here, all of this application I'm using, I type here, it displays down. You have all of this controls, options, and so on. This is my IDE. This IDE in particular is called PyCharm. It is used for Python programming language, but we are not here to learn the programming. I just wish to show you an IDE. So let's get back to our presentation. Under an IDE, we have a source code editor. It is made up of basically 3 parts. Generally, there are much more parts that are being incorporated into this IDE, but the main parts are these 3. We have the source code editor, a debugger, and we have a language translator. These 3. For these 3, the source code editor, when you say you are a programmer or someone says he's a programmer, he wrote a program, this is at this level, at the level of the source code editor that the person focuses. For example, what I just did here, we have this one here written mostly in English. I say print, I put bracket, I put things inside, and when the program runs, it follows what I wrote. I'm the one who wrote this one above, all these ones in this first box up here. All of this above, I'm the one that wrote it. I wrote it with my keyboard. Even if I come here and I wish to add something, after printing end of program, maybe I wish to print something like begin again. Begin again. I just say this what I wish to add to my program functioning. This is where I add it. This part is where I write my code, and we call this one a source code editor. So I can write something here and add it to my program. For example, if I run this program right now, this last line will be added to it. So if I run, ask for a name, I put my name, and they say value 1, I put 4, value 2, I put 8. The average here is 8.0. The average of the two programs of the two numbers gave 8.0. They say the first value is 4, second one is 8. Well, it shows there's an error with the program because actually the average between 4 and 8 should be 4 plus 8, which is 12. 12 divided by 2 should be 6. But what I wish to show you here is this last line I added up. I added a last line here, begin again. You can see now that right down here, after putting end of program, you see begin again. I'm not the one that have typed what is displayed above. I'm not the one that have typed what is being displayed here, but it gets displayed down here because I added it in the source code of my program. So what I'm saying, source code, is this part above where I type my own code. And when I say the other part that's been executed by the machine, I mean this one down. So generally when we say we are writing a program, it is at the level of the source code that we are talking about. So let's get back to our presentation. The next one is the debugger. The debugger is usually incorporated into the IDE. You don't see the debugger, but it works, and you don't see it working. As I was saying, for the debugger, you don't see it, but it works in the program. I have this language translator that helps the computer to understand what you wrote. When we say debugger here, if I come back to this program I just left, right now you see here, when we say debugger, this is it running the program. So a debugger is like, for example, if I come here and I type and I made an error. In programming, generally there are various types of errors. Sometimes can be spelling issues, syntax errors, and so on. Well, as you can see, we have one error already. When we add 4 and 8, if you run our program and you put 4 after you put 8, instead of it giving us the average to be 6, it gives us something else. You see here, it asks for name, I just put pcdrills, and it asks for value 1, I put something like 4 before, after I put 8. Instead of giving me 6, it gives me something else. Let me drag it up for you to be able to see. Here it gives me the average is 8 instead of giving me 4 plus 8, which is 12 divided by 2 to be 6. For those of you that are smart, you already notice that the issue is coming from the way the addition is being handled. For example, this value, this particular line here is something like this. Average is equal to first value plus second value divided by 2. Those of you that are good at math, you will remember that if I put this plus this other part divided by 2, in math you usually follow BODMAS, for those that recall. Actually here, when I put 4 for this first value after I put 8, in maths following BODMAS, you first of all come and do 8 divided by 2 give 4, and here we put 4 here plus all of this other second part that gives 4. So that's why the error is 8. Actually, this is an error in programming. We'll not correct it now, we'll come back and do it later. But to simply correct it, we simply have to just put brackets to know that we first of all do it with the bracket first. First of all, do this plus this before we come and divide it. So let me just let you know that the error is very easy to solve. Okay, let's go back and continue with our slide. We have talked about a debugger. Debugger is what will be showing us errors. For example, if I come here and I spell maybe a word and I make an error. For example, here I have two numbers. If I come here, instead of numbers I put numbers, something like that. You can see here under, you see the word have been underlined in red. It shows me that there's an error somewhere. So a debugger will be showing you that I've seen something here unusual that I don't recognize, all of that. Like here it's showing me an underline. If I put my mouse on top of the word that's been underlined to see what's wrong with the word, for example, I do this, you can see this, it shows typo in not pass. Typo means typing error, meaning that the words you have not spelled it well. And you can even see down it's proposing to me replace with numbers. You can see down here replace with numbers, see more actions and so on. So the debugger is the one that gives all of this. It tells you that there's an error, it has noticed an error here and so on. There are some errors like this one. If it notices it, and usually that's what I wanted to put in a program. Some of these errors are just simple typing error. There's no problem, I can allow it there, numbers. Run the program, instead of it displaying average of two numbers, it will tell me numbers, two numbers. That's just what I mean. But here you see that there's an error. You even see a tick here and it puts one error. To solve it, if I just come here and I edit and I put numbers, everything is correct. You see here, tick, no more underline written. So that's just a work of what we call the debugger. A language translator now is this part. What will help to convert what is written here in the language written, it looks like mostly English. It resembles mostly English. What's written here that resembles English into what the computer runs down at the bottom here. So the difference between the source code is that the output of the compiler, or we can say the language translator, is that what the user inputs, the translator will help to make the computer to understand. The debugger is simply there to make sure everything is correct at the user level before the compiler can translate it into the way that the machine will understand. So if you write this program and there's an error, let's say there's an error at a particular level, the computer will not even compile the program. That means the language translator will not even work. It will not reach at that level till you correct all those errors you have in your program. And I know since it's just the beginning of the course, you might be feeling like you're not understanding it at all, but just try to grab the little you can grab. I'll always be there to answer the questions you might have. But for now, you just need to memorize some of these words and how it works. You can ask questions wherever you have found a video just under it to the person that you find that can help you with it. So let's continue. I have this small diagram here that represents a programming software, what we call IDE. A programming software is simply what I was calling IDE. So in programming, we call it IDE. Programming software is just a word for you who is new to be able to understand. We call it IDE. And the full meaning of IDE was Integrated Development Environment. You should take note of this word, Integrated Development Environment. The application where I'm showing you my source code is an IDE. And inside the IDE, it consists of various parts. You have the source code, which is where you write your program. You have the compiler that will help to convert the program into what the computer can understand. And we have the object code. The object code is what the computer understands. So when you write your program using the source code, it passes through the compiler and produces an object code that the computer will understand. Also, we could also have a debugger as part of this. And like I said, there are many parts that will only talk about a few of them. So this other figure B you see down here is explaining how it works. The programmer will write a source code in a particular programming language. write a source code, and depending on the programming language you are using, the compiler for that particular programming language will compile the program and then will produce the equivalent object code for that particular program that the computer can understand. So if you write it in Python like I did here, Python is a particular programming language. So I'm writing the source code of my program using the syntax that Python understands. So if I make an error, it means that Python does not understand what I wrote. But if I write it how Python understands it, then there's no problem at all. And the equivalent object code, generally you don't see them. All of these ones are being done behind, and you just see the output. So coming back to this, our program that we have here, at this level up here, top right, where the mouse is, here is my source code. But here we cannot see the bytecode, and we cannot see this object code, and we cannot see this compiler. We cannot really see this because compiler is just a program that will help to translate what I have at this level into what gets displayed down here at this level, my running program. So the object code is actually what is running behind to produce this, and the compiler is what helps to translate this part at the top into this part at the bottom. I hope it's understood by you. Next, we have a source code editor. I've just explained most of it from this. The source code editor of this particular IDE is just this part. Here we say a source code editor is a programming tool that is used for creating, modifying application programs. So if I wish to add a particular line to my program, I just need to come to the particular source code, open the program, and I edit. If I want to add another line, I just come and I add the line. If I want to remove a line, I just come, I remove it. It changes how my program works. For example, here the program ended down here with begin again. If I come here to the part of the source code that has to display begin again, which is this one, if I remove it and I rerun the program, you will see that at the end, instead of us having begin again before this last line, we just have end of program with no begin again being shown. So if I just do a quick run, I'll still use the same values. I just put the name, the value 1, you still put 4, value 2, you still put 8. At the end, I will show you how to rectify this particular error. The value has to be 6, but I showed you some tips. You should be able to do it by yourself by now, but I'll still show you at the end. Like here we see is the source code editor. You see this under here, you see it ends with end of program. The other line that was here with begin again that I just deleted, it no longer displays as part of the program. So I just do modifications at the source code. So the source code is where you write your program, where you learn the programming language, where you type in your code, and everything that a program should be doing, you do it on the source code editor. So it helps the computer user to enter, search, delete, replace, copy, insert text in desired positions, just as I just did. Next, we have a bug. A bug is simply a programming error. If you make an error in programming, it is called a bug. For example, here I have a bug in my program. Do you remember what it is? Our average that gives us a wrong value. When I put 4 for first value, I put 8, it gives me 8. Instead of doing 4 plus 8, all that divided by 2 is doing but 4 plus 8 on 2, which is 4 plus 4. So what I simply have to do here to avoid that issue is just to put a bracket to show the computer where a program is supposed to end the groups of variables that it has to deal with. For example, after doing this, if I rerun the program following the 4 and the 8 that we just had, if I click here to run, if I put again the name, let's put pcdrills, also value 1, if I put 4, value 2, I put 8. You can see here the program displays 6.0. This is the correct value. So if you have any issue with the value, if you think it's not supposed to be 6, I'll leave it at the comments. But generally, average means you add the two values. The values here were 4 and 8. The average should give us 6. Do you think it is? Because I think the value is supposed to be 6. After having the 6, the program simply displays. That's why we don't have any errors. And you can see that I told you when there's an error, you see an underline and so on. But here the value was giving us a wrong value, but there was no error. So from this, you can understand that with a computer, there are various kinds of errors when you are doing programming. The first error that was just spelling errors. When I just put number instead of number, you start seeing an underline showing me that there's an error. But this other one, there's an error, but I cannot see it. The computer does not tell me that there's an error, it just works. Actually, it's because I'm the one that was negligent. The computer sees that before I wanted to do first number plus second number divided by 2 is correct in math. If you do something like this in math, you say y is equal to x plus b on 2. The computer knows that this is correct. And if you still do it like this, z, let's say z this time around is equal to x plus b, all of this on 2. To show that it is everything on 2, not just b, you have to put a bracket. Both of these are correct math statements. Both of these are correct in math. Both of these y and z on line 9 and line 10. Both of these are correct in math. But the computer will not see that there's an error because they are both valid. It can give correct values. But right now, as I've just written this, the computer does not understand it. So now you can see here warnings, errors, underlines, and so on. Under this X, underline, and so on. To show that this one is a particular error, the computer does not know what it means. If I just put my mouse over the underlined or any ones, they say that unresolved, reference X, and so on. For now, since it's just a beginning, we don't need to know all of this. But I just wish to show you that there are various types of errors. With the next lessons, we will go over the other types of errors also. So the resume of this slide is simply that a bug is a programming error. So if your program does not give a correct value that it's supposed to give, simply means there's an error somewhere. And that error in programming, we don't say error, we say bugs. That's just the difference. And we have 4 here, which is a debugger. A debugger is simply what will help to show that there's an error and so on. Like here, you see an underline. The debugger is the one that is looking at the program, checking for errors. It knows that there's an error here. So if I put the mouse over the particular line that has been underlined, you see the error. Here they say too many blank lines. Because in this particular programming language, it sees that many blank lines are errors. So if I just go ahead and wipe out these blank lines, you can see that the error gets solved. No more errors. If I see up here I still have numbers instead of numbers. So if I come on, I correct that, I'm left with one error. So let's look at where the one error is. Well, as of now, I'm not seeing the other error. But when you see this kind of error without any something that really hinders the program, for example, if I put this kind of error, that's like a yellow, you see a error with really an exclamation kind of mark, it means that it stops the program from running. But if you see an error that is just this kind of thing, it means that the issue is just something dealing with spelling English kind of words. So now we don't have any more errors. And generally with programming, when you have an error, you just need to look through the whole program unless it guides you where the error is. Next, let's move ahead. We have here a debugger, which is to correct errors and delete them. Just as that underline shows us where there's an error, they say that you have typed this wrongly, you need to correct, and so on. That's just what the debugger does. The debugging is simply the act of getting rid of bugs. Getting rid here means correcting, deleting, adding, correcting any misspelled things, and so on. So debugging, like I've gone there, I've corrected numbers and so on, and the other words. That's just the meaning of debugging, wiping out those two lines that was showing us errors. Debugging simply means I've corrected the errors that I had. Next, we have the object code, which is what is being produced after the program has been compiled. The object code is now what the machine is closer to what the machine can understand. So the machine takes the object code and knows how to use it to produce the output that you want for the user. So a wrap up or a recap for this particular lesson is simply that in an IDE, we have a source code editor, we have a compiler, and we have the object code, which is the output of the compiler. So when you have your program, you write it in a particular programming language, you write the source code. A compiler for that particular programming language compiles the code and it produces the equivalent object code that the machine should understand and use. So that's just what we have done throughout this lesson, and we hope that it was really helpful and you understood. If you didn't understand anything, you can rewatch the video or you ask under the comments depending where you got the video, or you can ask us through whatever means you can. So the rest of the other terms, we have many more terms that we have not discussed. The rest of them we can discuss them throughout the lesson, throughout the topic. So it depends when we need them that we just throw some light on them and we move on. So we are not just going to take a list of all words to be defining. Okay, thanks for watching. If you watch this one on YouTube, you can like, subscribe, leave a comment, share, and so on to help or to motivate. And if you are looking for a way to contact us on Facebook, you have this link, facebook.com/pcdrillsofficial. On YouTube, we have youtube.com/c/pcdrills. On Twitter, PC_drills, Telegram t.me pcdrills. All of this will lead them back to us, and you can even use our email, same thing, pcdrillsofficial@gmail.com. The main thing is just to search for PC Drills wherever you are. You can see from up here this logo. Anywhere you see this, it's likely related to PC Drills. So if you just search this particular word, PC Drills, you will likely find us online, no matter where you are, even on Google, Firefox, anyway. Thanks for watching and see you on our next lesson. We'll continue with these lessons within the time being. And if you had any issues with the audio quality, we are sorry for that. You also have to manage for the time being. See you next time on our next video, and if you have any suggestions for video topics, you can leave them at the comment section. Thanks for watching. Bye for now. See you on our next video.